Hey everybody, I'm going to show you the differences between our new main engine harness. There's a good detailed video going over all the details of this engine harness. But for this, I just kind of wanted to show you the comparison because we've had questions from some of the people that have shown interest. So this is our engine harness, and this is a Holley, I believe this is a 58X LS engine harness. So obviously same plugs. We're going to work our way from here to the end and show you all the differences here. So the first thing, if you've ever worked with a Holley harness, you already know what this is. This is your singular relay that is powering your coils and your injectors, okay? And then this is your singular fuse that is also fusing for your coils and injectors. It is being fed with a single 16 gauge wire, and then it splits out inside of the harness. And then you've got a loose ground wire here. What we did is we put everything inside of a waterproof sealed relay box, and we've got passenger coils, passenger injectors, driver coils, driver injectors, passenger coils and injectors on one relay, driver coils and injectors on another relay, all individual fuses. We've also got an additional 5 amp fuse for your ignition circuit. So your switched ignition wire right here is actually fused inside of our harness, where this is not, right? So you have to grab a fuse source here. Moving down this harness, we've got, on the Holley harness, we've got one singular CAN connector with about a 3-inch lead coming off of the main harness. Makes it a little bit cumbersome to connect to. What we decided to do was 2 CAN connectors, so no more need for a CAN bus splitter, and we gave you some length to work with so you can move it around. Okay, moving down, we've got the power tap hard connector, and then the input-output harness connector here from Holley. Again, really short leads, you know what I mean? So it's kind of difficult to work with these. What we did is we broke them out sooner in our harness, and then gave you some length with some so you can move some stuff around here, make life a little bit easier. All right, moving down the Holley harness, you've got a few loose wires. So this one here is your 16 gauge power feed for your coils and injector power, which I think is inadequate. When you compare it to ours, we're in a 6 gauge lead here, and it's substantially longer. It also breaks out in a more desirable location, where this is breaking out underneath the hood. It kind of makes things a little goofy. And then your green wire here is for a fuel pump trigger. This is also a 16 gauge lead, but it's not, all of it's being powered through this relay. So this singular relay can only handle like a tiny little fuel pump. So what we did is we just used a separate 20 gauge lead to trigger a relay here, and it breaks out early. So then we've got, when we do a side-by-side here, this is the additional length of our harness. So their main breakout is here, our main breakout is here. So we've got a breakout here for injectors from Holley, and then another trunk that goes down, another trunk, some more stuff that breaks out here, another stuff that breaks out here. This is where their O2 sensor breaks out. Our O2 sensor is breaking out earlier, and the lead itself is longer. So if you have to route this in a different way than you would with the engine harness, you can with ours. It's kind of difficult to do with this. Something else I want to point out real quick, if you look at the size difference of these two harnesses, it's pretty substantial, especially considering that we're oversized when we come to the power and ground feeds for coils and injectors, which we'll get to shortly. But this is also a split loom that if you have to coil this up to shorten it up, it kind of, when you do that, it kind of just, this kind of opens up and goes all over the place. Ours is all, solid, it's not split. And we also don't use tape. We're using an adhesive line heat shrink to keep everything together, right? So here and here. So moving along, this is a big tape joint. There's their main breakout. Here's our main breakout. So in the Holley harness, they have the knock sensors. In our harness, we do not, because knock sensors are worthless. So they're gone, right? So no more having to cut these off and trying to tuck them up out of the way. And then there's their crank sensor here. Our ignition sub-harness with the crank and cam on it will be coming with a high heat covering over top of it. So that's not aluminum foil. Okay, so we've got one main breakout with our harness here, and then it gives you the ability to route things, you know, kind of however you want, right? Here, you've got, let's get this out of the way. With the Holley harness, you're kind of stuck. You've got a 10, 12-inch lead for injectors, which always lands in the wrong spot. The injector connector is fed by one 16-gauge wire that's split to two 16-gauge wires back here inside of the harness. Or I'm sorry, two 18-gauge wires that split back here into the harness. Where our injector connection is actually two 14-gauge direct runs right back to the relay box, right? Then we've got the coil connector from Holley. They put their cylinder head ground here with a 16-gauge wire. Here, look, this is a brand new one. There's wires hanging out of this. This is pretty common. You know, so this is why we opted for a solid sleeved loom, right? Then you got a tape job here. This connector, the pins itself cannot handle a lot of amperage. So this actual connector here is for your coils, but and then your coil ground is here. The way we did it was we used a dual planform or a hybrid planform connector where we can supply a lot of amperage through a larger gauge pin, and then our trigger wires are nice and small. And then it kind of continues on. So the differences between ours and theirs is they're using this LS3, I believe, style map sensor connector, where we use a GT150 map sensor connector, so that you can use a pressure transducer style map sensor, where this you have to use an LS3, or you got to cut this off and, you know, put the good connector on it anyway. As far as length goes, it's a little bit longer, but not a lot, honestly. It's really only about an 8-inch longer deal, 8-9 inches. But it's enough, and the way that it's broken out, it's enough where you can put this underneath the seat of a Fox body, or you know, it's very easy to maneuver throughout the car. And then their final breakout is all this. So one of the big gripes that we hear from people is that, hey, my coolant temp sensor isn't there, my fuel pressure sensor isn't there, you know, my air temp sensor isn't there. Again, that's why we did the single breakout back there, so you can route things the way you want to. And then you don't have this big spaghetti mess of whatever that is there, right? Where if you look, this is every connection right here, all a lot smaller. So
one of these is the size of this.
Yep. So, and that's also including our other coil connector up here. So that's kind of a side-by-side comparison of the two harnesses. So let us know if you have any questions. Almost forgot. Our harness kit comes with your choice of coil connections, right? So this is the stock coil, or you can do an IGN-1A smart coil. This is also, it's already a big wire kit, right? That's already done. It also comes with your choice of cam and crank sub harness. So our harness becomes interchangeable across all platforms. So whether it be LS24X, 58X, big block Chevrolet, small block Chevrolet, 481X, Hemi, not new Gen 3 Hemi, but old Hemi. This harness will work for all of them. And then our harness kit also comes with a 18 gauge injector harness that's fed with two 14 gauge power leads. So hopefully that answers everybody's questions.